All right, I'm just gonna post a real quick message here. I had been comparing Dr. Ruth E. Kastner's relativistic quantum model analysis with the non-commutative math of Alain Connes, and I had just watched a lecture by Alain Connes on the discrete spectral, non-commutative type 2 of the Hamiltonian that von Neumann created for the foundation of quantum physics, and Connes did his PhD research on arguing that the perception of the passing of linear time originates from this non-commutative time frequency that is non-local, because it is a type 2 factorization as the inner matrices, the cross product that's non-commutative in the matrix math. And so essentially this is the secret of how to leave the matrix for real. And so when I came across a section in Dr. Kastner's book on thermodynamics and the passing of time, and she admits that the time is asymmetric, but she's arguing that that's due to the collapse of the wave function as a observation of the linear time due to the causality of the physics. And so I asked her if she thought the weak measurements showed otherwise, and I'd forgotten that she had published a paper critiquing and sort of debunking the weak measurements. And then she also added that she thought that just because the non-commutative math shows a symmetry breaking before the collapse of the wave function, that doesn't mean it's physically real. It's just mathematics. And she didn't know how that would be physically real. And so then I sent it to Basil J. Hiley, the professor. I sent the research link. And he said that her critique of the weak measurements is completely valid because as far as he's aware, the weak measurements are not demonstrating anything new in quantum physics. But on the other hand, he said, if you really examine the weak measurements, they do demonstrate this non-commutativity, and that and he also said that if you really examine quantum physics, that in his opinion, the non-commutativity is not just mathematics, but it is physically the truth of reality. And he said the big problem is that the Schrödinger equation became an algorithm because it's a linear equation, and therefore it's much easier to work with, whereas the non-commutative math requires having algebra going in two opposite directions, because you have reverse time and negative frequency. And so he gave me a link to a new lecture he just gave in September with Sir Roger Penrose, the Nobel physicist, and he's worked with Penrose over the years. They've been in discussion for decades, and so in his talk, he's chatting with Penrose during the talk, and he gives a mathematical proofs, and ends the lecture essentially with his email picking up where his lecture left off, stating unequivocally there is no reason to have to collapse the wave function as the quantum measurement problem. And in fact, we can just maintain the non-commutative algebra, and as it manifests in different forms. And I don't follow all the mathematical details, and he himself said that's not important because he's just trying to get the concept across, and he provided all the mathematical proofs in the talk, so anybody could check his math. And so this was a really huge corroboration of my own claim that he even related this back to his own experience with consciousness, and then he asked Stuart Hameroff a question about whether he said, you guys, you don't need a collapse of the wave function for your quantum consciousness model, and in fact the non-commutativity could just go to the macro level as a kind of phase transition, and I don't think Stuart really understood what Hiley was saying. I didn't myself. I didn't understand the mathematics. I got to look at it again. But his big point over and over is that, look, the Schrödinger equation was not necessary. And in my email response to him, I told him I had just read a paper about Pascual Gordon. And Gordon, he was a terrible guy as far as his political views. I mean, but so he got dismissed, but he was the first one to really emphasize the non-commutative math, and he believed that it did self-amplify to the macro scale as a quantum biology. And if you read the quantum biology, the Royal Society award-winning quantum biology book by Professor John Joe McFadden and Jim Alcalahi, I think that's how I pronounce his last name, but they go into Pascual Gordon and talk about how he believed in the self-amplifying energy from the quantum level, and then if you look into it further, he believed in that due to the non-commutativity. And then he realized that at first his math didn't work out, but then when they had to take into account spin in the 1950s, that they realized that this was a relativistic quantum mathematics that was non-commutative, and so the spin is so what this is Basil Hiley is stating that the mathematics explains that the space-time is inherently curved as a general relativity unification with quantum physics. And this is, of course, what Penrose is arguing also. It's just that, based on the twistors that are non-commutative, and they both get it from the mathematics from Alain Connes. So it all comes together, and then I discovered several research papers on the weak measurements claiming they do show non-commutativity as observables. And that is what's unique about them, is that you can demonstrate the non-commutativity as a physical truth as observables. And there's two different papers that make that claim, and then like three other papers that are just theoretical, but the other two actually did the experiments apparently. So and then Penrose, I haven't listened to his lecture yet, but he starts it off talking about Kurt Gödel believing in spirits, and it's kind of funny actually. And Kurt Gödel also believed in precognition, just like Olivier Costa de Beauregard. And so the quantum non-locality is non-commutative, and that's the foundation of reality. And Alain Connes, he explains this very simply with the music theory model. And the lecture that I discovered, basically he's stating that even though it's unobservable and indeterminate, it's actually the thermal dynamics are locally in unequilibrium, which means there is some negative entropy at the local level. And the whole point of meditation is you can absorb those virtual photons as a negentropic energy. And this is what Olivier Costa de Beauregard claimed is happening, and does explain that the paranormal is therefore de facto real and proven de facto as a macro scale amplification of the non-commutative quantum non-locality. So Basil J. Hiley is stating that the weak measurements, they demonstrate the transition amplitudes that Feynman was using from the Dirac mathematics. And so Basil Hiley he's just elaborated on the Dirac mathematics, and he's stating that David Bohm was basically reproving the Dirac mathematics, and the two are equivalent. And so there's no hidden variable at all. It's a mathematical field that's non-commutative as an algebraic process. And he even quotes Dirac on this, saying that it is a process. So the Jack Sarfati is claiming that the relativistic math is Roderick Sutherland has a back action as a reverse time negative frequency that is non-unitary. So I asked him about this, and he said it's not non-commutative. What he's referring to is essentially this same kind of macro scale observation, that he says it has to be an open system that would then have to be pumped externally, like a Froelich condensate. And so that's another way of coming at it that Basil J. Hiley kind of also does, because he says he starts out with space-time, and then he works his way back down to the quantum level. And so that he meets Penrose at the quantum scale with the twisters as the foundation of reality that are non-commutative. And so it can be approached in different ways, and that does that is similar to the transactional interpretation that Dr. Kastner, she said that last time she checked out Jack Sarfati, he believed in a block universe based on relativity, but I don't think she's aware that he is stating, it's non-unitary as a relativistic model. So the Hamiltonian interacts, the quantum Hamiltonian operator has to interact with an open relativistic system due to this back action, like an oscillation that's nonlinear. So the mathematics and the physics, it's all complicated and kind of a mess. Whereas the Alain Connes' music model is very, very simple, and it just cuts to the core of the whole issue, because you're going back to how does time get changed into a wavelength as a spatial matter, and he goes into the mathematics of how that happens. And so the assumption, this is Basil Hiley's point also. I read his Dirac papers that he referred me to, and he's basically saying what we think of as a point of matter is actually a process that's an average mean of these future and reverse time from the future and the past, that's averaging as a mean due to the non-local phase. And that's what his collaborator David Bohm was calling the quantum potential. So I'm just going to leave it at that, and thanks for your time.